Welcome to the Big Biz Show.
Taking care of business.
You want fast-talking, hard-hitting discussions on business and finance? Maybe with a barroom slant and some really salty peanuts? We're not counting calories. We're counting cash. Before we get to the man with the financial plan, meet the money team. Costa, Mary, and Greg. Now, Captain Finance himself, Sully.
On another beautiful day in sunny Southern California. Hope you guys are having a great one. We certainly are. I am voting, and I'm going to petition the powers that be to take that picture of me in that small.
No, that's a great picture. That stays.
My favorite.
That stays.
That's sausage.
Were you at the Ascot shop?
In La Jolla, California?
You have to buy this shirt because you were pushing maximum density between the top and the bottom. There.
Yeah, they are.
You put somebody's eye out with those buttons like that.
Our mutual friend Andy, who is the owner, came to me and said, "Yeah, you ripped that shirt. You're buying it, kid."
Yeah,
okay,
right.
Great.
You look somewhat. I know last week we were calling you a tan sweater, and you're wearing the tan sweater again.
Yeah, it's
but you look tanner. Did you have an experience over the weekend? Did you go somewhere? Because I think we have some rare footage from a hotel. Or are we ready to show that yet, or should we show that tomorrow?
I think it's in the editing bay still. Really, okay.
I just want to know.
I just want to say I don't know what you're talking about.
I just want to know why you had a meeting.
I mean, it's just catching up with people. You know, they're always saying you got to check in. And that's all I was doing.
I just heard tell about some stuff.
Okay.
Howie Font, our punk-trepreneur, otherwise known as Crash. Hey, Howie, great to have you. I hope you had a great weekend. I have a question for you. You talked to us last week about non-compete agreements. About 30 million Americans have non-compete agreements. In California, we gave up on that boast about 20 years ago because non-compete agreements are not enforceable here in California. It's basically under the guise of if you spend your time at a workplace learning a skill and you start your own business, you should be able to take the risk and start your own business because learning a skill that you got paid for doesn't necessarily mean that you stole it. It means that you went through life and learned some skills. Now, on the other hand is you come in one day, figure out how the sausage is made or figure out how the KFC chicken is made and quit the next day and start your own thing. That's another story. Talk about the difference because the FTC is square in the bullseye on this regarding regarding not NDAs but non-competes. Talk about that.
Yeah, well, you're bringing me right there by mentioning NDAs or non-disclosure agreements and then trade secret laws. So even though non-competes are now not going to be allowed in the rest of the country in the states that don't have rules on it, you still can have an NDA and you still have trade secret laws protecting you. So someone can't take the 7 herbs and spices and bring it to the next place.
Is it 7 herbs and spices? Oh, excuse me, hold on. We have a correction here, Mike. What's the herbs and spices again?
It's 11, Howard.
11,
it's
okay.
11.
I might need to be fact.
It's not 7. It's Mike. Well, he wouldn't even see this. Mike goes like it was almost like a penalty flag was thrown up in the air in a football game. If you get the wrong amount of spices in his fried fast food,
please,
you're going to get busted for it. It's right. 11. Do you know? Can you name 6 of the 11?
Sage, mustard, garlic, salt, pepper.
You know this?
Cumin.
How does he know this?
Oh yeah, because I've tried to replicate. I may have tried to replicate before.
Oh my God, Howie, when you talk about non-disclosure and non-compete, talk about what that does to someone who leaves a job, goes to the next job. Is that a difficult transition?
Yeah, so it affects, in particular, a lot of programming jobs or a lot of jobs where you have a client list. So you don't want your lead salesperson going and taking, your top 10 clients or the people that they interacted with the most.
Well, that's wait. That's a whole other story, though. That's client poaching. That's customer poaching. Hang on a second. I'm keeping you.
Sure.
Start it off. Let's start the show off because you've got non-disclosure of, Mike's potato chip problem in the back.
Yeah.
Can't talk about that. You've got trade secrets.
Right.
You've got competition.
Yes.
And now you got client poaching.
Oh yeah.
That's like 4 different things. Does that fall into one thing? And where do we see
your clientele?
Do you know where I stand on client poaching?
Where?
Firmly on its neck. Stealing my customers.
I feel like if you've developed a relationship with them, you can steal them. They wouldn't be with. Look, you stole me.
If you didn't have the.
We are live from the Loft 100 studios in sunny Southern California. Holiday version. There's been a couple of them. The Big Biz Show. Costa and Mary, Burt Godwin with you. Sully and Greg out doing other types of Big Biz stuff. Hope you guys are doing well. Of course, we are joined in studio by the Day Trader Trio, the best in the business.
Best.
Gentlemen, how we doing?
You know, I love the holidays, I gotta say. I do. Holiday time of year. This has been a hard year. I lost my mom this year. There's grief, there's emotions, but I also have so much joy at this time of year. I don't know, it's just fun. I like the decor, I like the music, I like overeating. I like all the things.
All the things.
Okay, truth be told, 100% transparency, and Trace and James can back me up on this. I don't think Brian was in studio yet, but I walked in and I just looked at them. I said, is it bad that I want the holidays to be effing over, please?
I missed that conversation.
And I know you did. But again, like we talked about before on the show, I have a profound new look on Christmas. And Trace, did you say peace on earth?
James said
or
peace
James,
on earth,
peace
but I
on
would
earth.
like it too. Peace
okay,
on earth would be awesome.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Getting back to what this whole conglomerate, business holiday is, which is peace on earth, goodwill to men.
Yeah.
And I want to get back to that. And I'm tired. And I don't mind. I love the hustle and bustle at the malls. I love the music. I love the decorations and things like that. But I gotta have, or God, I feel so inadequate if I don't, put something expensive underneath the tree.
Yeah, it's not. I think you're right. It's not about that. But
no.
Like last night, I decorated the table for my kids with Christmas decor and stuff. And then the kids came in. We had a nice dinner, and holiday music was playing. And it was just like a little moment that I don't get with my teenagers very often. So
no, make a fire.
I like it.
Kick back, just look at the tree and chill, and just be thankful that you have everything that you have. We certainly are thankful for our market analyst here on the Big Biz Show. His name is Howie Font.
What does Howie think
and
about
he
this?
joins us once again
What's your take?
From the Big Apple. Howie, have we lost our way when it comes to what the spirit of the Christmas and the holidays and Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and all that good stuff is about?
Well, first of all, just as always, happy to be on Nunya, especially the holiday edition. Love the holidays like Mary.
I'm all wrapped up in red now. Got my red glasses.
I'm wearing blue because I feel blue. Just kidding. Howie, go ahead.
You need green, Mike.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I mean, materialism's a thing. Yeah, all I want for Christmas is $100 billion in Bitcoin, but we'll get to that.
I love the fact that I just made you tap dance through the minefield with that question, Howie. Well done. Well done.
No, listen, it's I think it's a thing. I think we all prefer the part where we see our family that we don't see often enough, more than the stuff, but
sure,
the stuff's good too. I like it.
No, and don't get me wrong. There's excellent stuff out there, especially now that we're in the midst of this technological age that we all enjoy. I mean, the bells and whistles, and the next greatest thing is
the heated eyelash curler.
Oh, exactly.
That's what I'm hoping for.
My brand new back waxer. I mean, those things are awesome. How you mentioned Bitcoin. It went over, and correct me if I'm wrong, was it last week? It went over 100,000 for the first time ever?
Yeah, it did. In a crazy move since the election, I think the price is up 40% or so. And yeah, we crossed the 100K barrier. We're back down now on some different news, but still very, very high.
What's the news that's bringing it back down?
Well, Microsoft has a lot of cash on its books. A lot of big corporations do, and they buy corporate bonds or maybe some stocks just to get a little bit better return than a normal bank account would, because they're holding a lot of cash for long periods of time. Mm-hmm. And so there was a shareholder vote, should one of those assets be Bitcoin? And there was a lot of talk that, Microsoft is going to kind of break a glass ceiling and buy Bitcoin and keep it on its balance sheet. And they decided not to. So that's that. And then they also, Google and Microsoft yesterday announced that they were unveiling quantum computer chips, which is kind of a exponential increase in our computing power. And I don't think this is there yet, but technically you could use a quantum computer to break Bitcoin, and that's far in the future. But those are the two pieces of news bringing us back down, but still very high.
I hear the word quantum, and I immediately go to time travel type of quantum, that type of.
Hey, Howie, what's the deal with the Bitcoin Act of 2024? Is this a thing?
Yeah. So finance and politics, they're just, Mary, you're getting me all excited. I'm happy.
I'm stressed out, so I'm glad you're excited. Talk to me, Goose.
Yeah. So the U.S. government holds lots of assets, just like Microsoft's balance sheet. If Sully were here, he'd go into Jekyll Island and the whole Federal Reserve System. But we all know about Fort Knox and how much gold that has. So the Bitcoin Act is kind of a similar thing for Bitcoin. It says the federal government needs to accumulate some Bitcoin, hold it on its balance sheet for at least 20 years, and use it as a reserve asset. And it would require our banking system to, take some of its earnings and hold Bitcoin. The amount that they want to do is a lot. They want to do 5% of all Bitcoin, or a million Bitcoin. Yeah. So at the price Mike mentioned, the $100,000 price at a minimum, right? Because if you're buying, the price is going to go up. That's $100 billion in 5 years. So that's a lot of buying for anything.
Wow. Howie Font is our Big Biz Show market analyst with us here today. Howie, what's the deal with this new company, MicroStrategy? Is it associated with Microsoft or Bitcoin or both?
It's very associated with Bitcoin because it's of its CEO, who's a very, very smart guy, Michael Saylor. They're not associated with Microsoft, but they have worked together in the past. MicroStrategy's CEO, like I said, actually advised Microsoft on how they would technically and what are the merits of doing it. So he spoke to their board, but the shareholders disagreed. So that kind of ends that. MicroStrategy is a relatively small company that has very high profit margins, and they're using that to build. They're a cash machine, but they can't grow beyond a certain point. So what their CEO has been doing for the last few years is they were one of the first companies to actually buy Bitcoin on the balance sheet, and they're actually borrowing money to buy Bitcoin. So they're leveraged. They're, if Bitcoin goes up $1, you would expect MicroStrategy, I don't know what their leverage is right now, but if it was 10 to 1, to go up $10 for every time Bitcoin went up $1, if that makes sense.
There was just a little sidebar here. There was an NFL offensive lineman, and I think he either went from the Broncos to the Chargers or the Chargers to the Broncos. But the new contract he signed with his new team, I forget the amount of money, but he asked for and received half of it in cash and half of it in Bitcoin. Wow. And this was probably 8 or 9 years ago.
Is that the first time that was done?
That's the first time I can recollect it being done in professional sports. But, Howie, is as these athletes, Juan Soto just signed a deal with the New York Mets, 15 years, $785 million. It wouldn't surprise.
There were parades. Yeah,
of course there were.
All the Mets fans came out. Yep.
Yeah, and all the Yankee fans are crying. But I wouldn't. Do you hear more and more pro athletes maybe possibly doing this as far as contractual obligations from a team, not only cash, but maybe Bitcoin or some sort of other?
For anyone who doesn't understand this, a good example is. I think Charles Barkley told this story in the 90s. He was talking to Michael Jordan, and Michael Jordan asked him about his contract, and he said, "What do you need all this cash for? Tell him to give you options. Tell him to give you stock." And so it's a kind of a similar thing. Of course, we see that, in hindsight, you should be asking for some Nike stock or, whoever you're working with. You want some cash, sure. And that's why he's taking 50% cash, not all Bitcoin. But you want a growing asset, and it's good for tax reasons too. But mostly you want it growing, right? And so he sees that there's an asset that's going to jump up. The teams are happy to do it because it's so volatile, it's so up and down.
Sure.
They don't have to pay him the Bitcoin day one. He doesn't get a check for it that day, but they can average their price down, so they can, buy half his salary for maybe 20% off if they are smart about accumulating it, and then give it out to him as he earns it, and he's happy to take it in the long term. I think it's a great deal. It's very smart. So whoever told him to do that, or if it was his idea, kudos.
Hey, we got about 15 seconds left. All your holiday shopping done?
I'm a notoriously late holiday shopper.
That pregnant, before the question.
I will capstone it. I mean, I think there's diminishing returns on material stuff. So I think I'll see both of you before the year is out, and that's all the good. And I think you are ultimately right, Mike.
Big Biz Show market analyst Howie Font with us. Howie, great. We'll talk to you next week, my friend.
Bye, Howie.
Keep it right here. More of the Big Biz Show after this. In over 175 countries and all the ships at sea on the American Forces Network, it is the Big Biz Show as always. To our brave men, women of the United States Armed Forces, thank you for what you do. To our vets, what you have done for us. Costa standing in for Sully, pending bar today. Of course, Mary Burt Godwin in her beautiful Christmas red sweater. Hope you guys are all having a good day. With us at the bar as well, Speaker, CEO, Coach, Consultant, Chief Launch Officer, Mr. Dan Negroni, back with us here on the Big Biz Show. Happy holidays.
That'd be me.
That's you, sir.
Yes.
That's you,
How are you?
Negroni?
Good.
Shopping done? Shopping
So there's
started?
such a happy vibe in here today.
It is.
Isn't it fun?
So festive.
Yeah.
Even the
Everyone's
Grinch.
smiling, laughing.
He's a little bit grinchy, though.
I
what
walked
happened?
in. I walked in and I said, as we rehash this, thanks, Mary. I just walked in and I said, God, is it okay if I just say I want the holidays to be over?
When I come in, I'm like,
she came in, she goes, oh my God, I love it. And I love the decorations. I love the specials. I just hate the commercial side of it. So we're trying to scale back and get back into, as the band would say, peace on earth and goodwill towards men.
Yeah.
I'm really trying to focus on that
Amen.
this year. Yeah. There you go.
Amen.
Is the semester over, Professor?
My first semester is over.
Wow,
was it?
awesome. How did it go?
Lots of lessons learned.
Okay, tell me.
Yeah.
I think lots of lessons learned about me. Like, oh my God, number one is I cuss a lot. And it's not very good in front of students, probably.
Do you have to curb it, or do you just let it fly?
Well, I kind of use it a little bit more intentionally because there's a study that shows that it actually connects with younger people and connects people. And it's not gratuitous cussing.
Okay.
It's like
Thank you.
emphasis.
Yes.
Yeah.
A well-placed F-bomb is,
Yeah.
really,
And so
it's an art form to it, really.
So I'm learning the art form of trying to really be focused that there are, 40 eyes looking at you and wanting you to go faster probably so they could get the class over with, especially at 5 o'clock at night. But learned a lot of things about myself and how to teach and what they need, and then learned a ton of stuff about them.
And it's in the business school, right?
Yes, I'm a business professor teaching strategy management.
Okay, and so they, at that point,
Fourth
it's not
year,
a general
Seniors,
education class.
juniors.
So they're focused and
They should know
They want to-
stuff.
they
I
want
almost
to-
cursed. They should know stuff.
but they want to be there too, right? Because I
Well,
imagine
that's a really good question. I'm not so sure.
Okay.
And I think it depends on the day. I think, it's a 2-credit course. So I think many of them kind of want to get it over with.
Okay.
And it's at 5 at night. And I require a lot of them, a lot of interaction, a lot of just coming up. And like if there was a camera there, they'd be, you're on.
Sure.
Okay.
And they don't like that.
Really?
I mean, public speaking is a fear worse than death for most people.
Yeah.
And they haven't
especially
been-
this age.
Yeah,
we're
and
thinking, right?
I teach it in a way where, look, let's learn how to think. Because when you get to the workplace, no one's going to give you a guide to tell you what to do. So what up? You got to ask smart questions. You got to be there. You got to show up. So I make them all coach each other. Like they have to teach the class, kind of like law school,
Okay.
Socratic method. So I'm not so sure. We'll see what my reviews look like. I'm kind of a little trepidatious, a little scared.
You get in front of executives with Fortune 500 companies. You've done a ton of big keynote addresses. How similar is teaching students to that, or are they absolutely polar opposites?
Yeah, no, they're so similar.
Okay.
I mean,
audience is-
look, if you're a real keynote speaker, you care about giving value to the audience and not about what your prepackaged thing says.
Okay.
I mean, you have to have a mark and a script, like you guys know, and the timesheet, and be super well prepared. But my job when I get in the room of a keynote speech is the same as my job in the classroom, except for I get 15 weeks with them, which is awesome to get to know them better. But you must know your audience and deliver to them because they are the hero of anything you're talking about. And so it's really fun, but it's a lot of work.
Okay, I have
A lot of work.
questions about
A lot harder than a keynote.
Students,
Yeah.
do you allow them to bring their phones in?
Okay.
And how do you manage that?
So funny you ask that because my nieces who are in college now both ask me, what's your policy on phones? I'm like, there are none. We haven't had a problem until the last class.
Someone's phone go off?
Well, we had mentors come in, like 9 mentors, and they were all working on the projects, and one happened to be run a car dealership. And so one girl says in the middle of class on her phone, oh, the mentor who came, Dan was his name too, Dan came and he's helping my mom buy a car. And I was like, who cares? We're teaching right? They're presenting their final project. Who cares? So that was the only time I had a problem with the phone, actually. And I said,
good. That's impressive.
That's ridiculous. Like, put that thing away. Almost dropped an F-bomb. That's crazy.
That would have warranted.
Yeah.
Did you turn and go, who asked her
I said,
that question?
WTF.
Or who asked her
Yeah,
that
right?
question?
Yeah, WTF.
Oh my gosh.
Like, are you for real?
Yeah.
And then I told my niece's story. So I was like, you broke it. I was on a stretch for 15 weeks where no one at least let me know. They have their computers out.
Right.
So they have their text and their WhatsApp and their iMessage. So they can do a lot of things.
Okay.
And I don't go behind them, but I do make them participate.
And did you see growth in them over the course of the
Yeah, because the first week we start with, I make them tell their story. And then we all give feedback about how the story could have been better. And then the last week, or the last 3 weeks, they each go in parts and they have to retell their story. So you can, and then the class has to coach them on what was better and what they felt and what they learned. And so really interesting.
Did you get some students who were the little acorn, and that last day you were looking at the mighty oak? Did you see growth like that?
Yes, and what's super cool about the growth is it's so unique. And being a guy that, one of the things, the party tricks I do when I do a keynote is I learn everyone's name. If there's under 100, 150 people, I can learn everyone's name. So these kids, I knew their name in 10 minutes, right? Like,
yeah.
Sorry, and don't move your seats because I'm not forgetting your names because you're participating. And so the other thing that is kind of one of my gifts is I really can tell their unique strengths, even if they're shy, they're drooling while they're speaking, right. They're not very articulate. You see the crystals. And it's super cool to be able to bring those out.
Did it give you more faith in this generation? Because I know we've talked about this generation being a little bit.
I'm going to say it in 2 languages, yes and no, and CE no. I mean, at times, and then there were times I'm like, really? Like, really? And I said it.
Yeah.
Really? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
With my expletive, of course.
The website is dannegroni.com to find out everything about Dan. We got about a minute and a half left, Dan. Talk about this new book we were talking about during the break. $12 Trillion Coach?
Yeah, with my work with Marley, we're doing a lot of AI-based coaching for the everyman in your pocket. It's super cool. Go to getmarley.com to figure that out. But I started reading this book called The $1 Trillion Coach, which I'd never read. And anyone who's interested in affecting people's lives or creating impact has to read the book. It's about a guy named Bill Campbell who has passed, but was the coach. He was a coach of Columbia college football team, and then he ended up being the coach of Steve Jobs, Eric Schmidt, Larry and Sergey at Google, Intuit. He was the CEO of Intuit. Just a fascinating read about how a really cool, with expletives, coach that cared and dug in. I kind of feel his vibe. Right. It's kind of mine. And it's just such a good book on how to show up and provide value to others.
I love it.
Do that.
All right.
I'm
going to get the audiobook.
CEO, coach, consultant, chief launch officer. He is a great friend of the Big Biz Show. His website is dannegroni.com. If we don't see you before, happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Always good to see you, brother.
Don't be a Scrooge.
I'm trying. I will. I'm refocusing. I'll turn the frown upside down for you, Mary.
Mike Costa.
All right, keep it here. More at the Big Biz after this. It is The Big Biz Show. In case you're wondering, we are live from the Loft 100 studios in Southern California. Wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening, I always appreciate you being along for the ride. Costa, Mary Burt Godwin. Our executive producer is Greg Todorov. And of course, Sully.
And who's the special guest?
Oh, this is Mr. Kendrick Minton from Joint Smoke Barbecue.
You screwed this entire place up today. When we found out you were coming, the place, no, honestly, the crew started dogs were mating cats. I mean, and you know, the band couldn't play.
There's footage from last week.
Look at what he does for us here. Of course, Kendrick Minton is the owner of Joint Smoke Barbecue Plus. They're here in San Diego, California. But we want to feature some small business across the country, wherever you are located. And it goes back to where we featured a contest for a marketing what's it called? A makeover, marketing makeover.
Yes.
By a guy named Keith Chambers, who wrote the book Pull, and he was the genius behind Super Bowl, 3M Products, General Mills. And we did a contest to do a marketing makeover, which I think we're going to do again in 2025. But the funny part was he was allowed to choose. We had like hundreds of people across the country that would mail in what they thought the business should be. Mm-hmm. He didn't take the consulting business. He didn't take the attorney firm. He took pet crematorium business.
Really?
It was called Happy Dreams Pet Crematorium, and he created a marketing. So we've reached out to Keith again, and to do a marketing makeover. And during this process over the next several months, I want to interview as many small businesses as we can to talk about the difference between when they started and now, because of the digital footprint we all have, and so on and so forth. It's interesting. I talked to Kendrick before the program here. I said, "Hey, what's your website?" He goes, "I don't have a website. I have Instagram." Doesn't that say everything, Mary?
Yep, Facebook
doesn't that,
and Instagram, right?
By the way, his Instagram is Joint Smoke Barbecue Plus 23. But doesn't that tell you everything about marketing?
Everything you need to know. It's where I go first is Instagram. When I'm looking for a business or I'm looking for something, I go check out their feed. Number one thing.
Kendrick, where are you from?
I'm hip like that.
Louisiana.
Oh.
Hey, I hear it there.
So you know nothing about barbecue?
Shreveport, Louisiana, yes sir, and part of Texas. So you know that's the roots. So you know, and been out here in California for 30 years. But like I said, just doing this business, man, and enjoying it and loving it. I've been doing it for 2 years now, as far as a business wise.
How did you get into? I'm not just going to say cooking barbecue. You have a passion for it. I've been next to you. I've seen you move like. You treat this stuff as if it's family.
Oh yeah.
And your people too. Talk about how did that happen?
How did it happen is I think just time, man, just loving it and growing up, you know, like just not really understanding when I was young, but just now I'm older and just really understanding like how passionate sitting down, cooking and smoking and listening to music in the background and having a little sip late at night. Just had a smoke rolling, and
I'm taking him home with me.
Yeah, you know,
Right.
and sitting in your backyard,
taking him home with me.
And that smell just like going through the air, and you just like, and then you look up under the smoke, and you're like, that's it right there. That's it.
Well, it's and mom or dad's kitchen table on a Sunday afternoon is religion in the South.
Absolutely,
it really is. It normally comes after services in the morning or whatnot. Is that where? I mean, who at whose apron strings did you fine-tune your craft and watch and learn?
Well, you know, every Sunday, as you just said right now, every summer and every Sunday, my grandmother, uncles, aunts, you know, and and we had 17 uncles and aunts, so they would all come over, man, and cook, and everybody would bring a dish, the collard greens and the cornbread and the sweet potatoes and everything, and I just sit there and watch, you know.
Mike's dish was Mike would bring his dish would be a 12er Mickey's Big Mouth
and a tub of Cool Whip.
Well, you had the uncles on the side over there, had the brandy and all that stuff going on too.
Good to know.
You know, yeah.
Okay.
So they was doing that stuff and having a good time, man. And then, you know, and I was just drawn to the smoke because I had the uncles over here on the smoker. So I was
wait a second.
I gotta go hang out with these guys.
So for the rest of us, you have to define things. Grilling, barbecuing, smoking.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Yeah.
Like are we like when we're out when he's hitting hamburgers or hot dogs is that barbecue?
Hot and fast.
Hot and fast. Oh,
Yeah.
Hey, hot and fast.
That's my dance
Hot and
name.
fast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Barbecuing and smoking
That's
is in
his gang
the
name.
same wheelhouse. Low and slow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got to have time. If you don't got time, you might as well not.
So, but grilling's a different story.
Yeah,
this
grilling.
is this
Get
low
there.
and slow. Talk about low and slow. What does that mean exactly?
Low and slow, you know, because you're gonna take a big piece of meat that's hard to break down.
Is that like a brisket? Is that what you're talking
A brisket,
Okay.
you know, a pork shoulder. Yeah.
Tri-tip?
Well, tri-tip is fast.
Oh, it
You know what
is?
I mean? Tri-tip relatively is considered fast because in about 35, 45 minutes,
True.
you got a tri-tip ready.
That's right.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you start it hot and fast and then
Right.
let it.
Yeah.
so what's slow and slow? We're talking about how slow? How many hours slow?
12, 14?
Oh, yeah.
13 to 14 on my
Wow.
briskets that I do. And then I actually do a 24-hour time on my briskets because
So you start at noon on Saturday and eat noon on Sunday.
what happens is you're doing the 12 to 13 hour smoke, but then you also have a rest time.
Now okay.
During that whole
Yeah.
time, what's going on? Are you
And
there
why are you not
watching
eating it as you're going?
monitoring it?
Well, the first 4 hours you kind of get away with
Okay.
hanging out because you know you really getting the smoke into the meat the first 4 hours, and then after that, you know you got to go out there and you got to stoke the fire. You adding a log or a log or two to keep the temp up.
Okay.
And this is old school me stoking the fire, adding a log, adding
Yep.
wood. You know they got the
What kind of wood are you using?
I like to use oak.
Oak.
Yeah, oak, and I usually
Have
use
you
a little
tried out
wood.
different woods and?
Have you tried Kingston? Charcoals.
Kings for charcoal. They are popular. They get used. You know what I mean? You have to do because
But there's nothing like wood, right?
because you create a cold bed. You have to have a cold bed. That's where a lot of people miss that. They want a barbecue, but they don't have a cold bed. They're just throwing wood in there and trying to keep the fire up, but it's not holding that residual heat.
Oh, that's what the coals do.
That's what the cold bed is for. So you got a cold
Kingsford,
bed.
by the way.
You know what I mean?
Kingsford, absolutely.
Kingsford, that's it.
Kingsford.
You know what I mean? We
Can
market those-
you give away a little bit of a trade secret? I just want to know
No.
how you use mustard on your brisket?
No.
You don't, because I see that a lot on cooking shows. They'll take the brisket, they'll trim it.
Hold, stop, wait.
Did you just say
You say,
cooking
do you
show?
say cooking show?
Yeah. Yeah, barbecue masters.
Oh, I like the cut of his jib.
When he's not watching
What are
the
you
Hallmark
watching?
channel.
Mike, what are you watching?
Food Network?
I think he needs a cooking show.
Oh my God.
Sure.
Have you ever thought, okay, so let's talk about Joint Barbecue Plus. Joint Barbecue is your business,
Right.
where you do mostly catering. Do you have a Sticks and Bricks place? Do you have a building?
No stick and bricks.
But you're catering, basically.
I'm catering and I go down to Sarah Mesa is one of my biggest areas.
For the rest of the country.
Yeah.
That's the area in San Diego.
Yeah. Thanks to those guys, they always come out and support Joint Smoke Barbecue. Great customer base down there. I'll be down there this Friday, as a matter of
But
fact.
wait a second, do you realize here that you have this opportunity to go out on the line, as I like to say? You could create a YouTube barbecue tip network. I mean, we've learned how much, like, I guarantee you, I know what you're doing tonight, and I know what you're doing tomorrow.
Yeah.
What? Tell me.
Gonna go online and look at my videos, and you said tip, more like a burnt tip.
Just give me a call, man. You know,
Okay.
yeah,
But
we'll
the point
talk.
is, have you ever thought about scaling it that way? Because you're a wealth of knowledge, and I think you do it anyway, and you've got your lovely life that works with you. I mean, this is Mary's department. Hold up a camera, and next thing you know, this guy's got a business model in terms of giving the entire world tips on how to do it. Or you want to keep your family secret, you don't give it away.
I do have to keep those secrets dialed in.
Yeah.
That makes
And
sense.
also, does it take away from, I mean, when I saw you out there engaging with the people and you were in it, you know, and it was just the passion and your love for it, the camera and all the stuff adds a layer that's like not authentic to what you're doing.
Well, the other thing too is,
Right. And I
when
like to be social.
But when
Yeah.
you see what you're doing, and you weren't there that day, but you go home and think, I'm going to throw away I can't even. It's like saying I'm not going to play
Right.
flag football anymore after watching an NFL game. I mean, it's really a different story for you, right? Because just over the passion. Talk about your specialties.
Specialties is brisket. That's the main drop for everybody. It's brisket.
Mike's tearing up.
I know,
Yeah,
he is.
yeah,
He was so good.
Dustin Studio. Dang it.
And it's funny because I started with ribs, you know, and that's my first thing I started with. And everybody was like, man, I love the ribs, man. And it's like, they was awesome. And they still are. You know what I mean? That's what I did for you guys today, ribs.
Oh, yeah. So I was praying. Goes over. Can't get rid of the ribs.
So, and I slowed down on them because I've stopped eating pork myself, you know what I mean? So that's why I slowed down on the ribs, but I still cook them, you know what I mean? I do taste them. I have my son taste them because he's getting into the game now where he wants to learn. So,
Nice.
hey, when I cook ribs, hey, son,
Come on.
tell me what we got here. Okay, Dad is right.
How long would it take you to where you were trusting someone like your son or a family member to take over the Coles? And you sit back and go to Hawaii for a week and know that is that a 10-year process? Is that a 5-year
really couldn't
process?
put a
Is it an
time on
hour?
it. I couldn't put a time on it. They have to sit with me and be with me enough to the point where it just becomes organically and naturally like, I know this is the right person for this.
Right.
And I can see it in them, reading them that they are passionate about this the same way that I am. And they just start doing it. I don't have to do anything. It just takes over automatically.
Every Friday we do a series with him on step by step. By the end of next year, you'll be able to cook one rib. He's gonna give it to you this piece at a time. Kendrick, will you come back over and over again, man?
Absolutely.
We love hiring him.
Hey, can I give a shout out to my father? It's his birthday.
What's his name?
Turned 78. Arthur Minton.
Arthur Minton, happy birthday, brother. What's up, Art?
Yeah.
You did a good thing here.
Baby.
Love it.
Thanks, man.
Hey,
I
thank
appreciate
you,
you
guys.
coming in.
So good.
That does it for us. Big Biz Show, bigbizshow.com is our website.
What are we eating?
We're heading outside.
my
We're gonna
Lord.
be out in a minute.
Those hands out.
From the Loft 100 studios in beautiful, sunny Southern California. The Big Biz Show, wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening. Thanks for being along for the ride. I am Costa, sitting here in my resplendent brawny paper towel costume.
Did you get
Jerry Godwin, Greg Todorov, and Sully.
Did you get an endorsement deal for Dinty Moore Stew?
Want a stewski? Nailed it.
125 million TV homes every night. Also, of course, Bloomberg El Financiero. Lave sus manos. And Bloomberg EU.
Lave.
We get paid for doing this. One of the best things that comes of this show is when Greg gets a phone call from a shareholder of a public company that they want us to interview. Brandon Robinson is the CEO and a founder of a company called Horizon Aircraft. You saw it on the screen. Mike's first comment was, I want one.
Yes.
Their stock symbol is HOVR. It's horizonaircraft.com. And we're going to start following this company. Brandon, thanks for coming on, bud. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. Thanks, Sully. Great to be on the show.
Okay, so listen, you are, first of all, I've gotten to know Brandon, and we're the same, kind of the same cloth. His brand is this. Hey, his wife says, hey, Brandon, does this dress make you look fat? No, your face does. He's a very straightforward, honest guy, because you're a pilot. He asked me, were you in the military? No, I got kicked out. Talk to me about your background and how you got into this.
Yeah, so I was fortunate enough to join the military academy up here in Canada. It's like West Point, but we only have one, tri-service, so Air Force, Navy, and Army all in one. And I was lucky enough to make it through engineering and got streamed right into the pilot program. So from a young age, I was streamed right into fighter jets. So I managed to complete the Canadian version of Top Gun and have a great sort of military career flying jets and hair on fire pretty much most of the time. It was great.
I love the fact that Brandon asked me if I was in the military is because Brandon is Latin for badass. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
So Brandon, talk about the company because you have a new type of aircraft that you're building. And this is, the addressable market on this is insane. Bring us from the beginning for the people that haven't seen you before.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So if you take nothing more away from this, essentially we're building an aircraft that can take off and land like a helicopter. So vertically, any sort of helipad, any sort of parking lot or flat surface, but then fly like a normal aircraft en route. So think twice as fast as a helicopter, about a quarter of the cost per unit mile to operate. So a cheaper, faster helicopter. I think that I don't really have to go much further than that. Huge total addressable market. A lot of different companies building these types of machines, but we have a pretty unique concept in this space.
What's the tiebreaker? What makes you bigger, better, faster, stronger? What's the differentiator?
So you back up 4 years, a lot of companies were coming out with concepts that were all electric. And when we did the math, carrying around 2,000 or 2,500 pounds of lithium-ion batteries didn't make a whole lot of sense for a flying machine. Don't get me wrong, we're pretty excited about that future. But we went to hybrid electric. So that's the first differentiator. So we have gas on board, which is still about 30 times as energy dense as the best batteries. And then we have a unique concept where en route, the aircraft can change its configuration and fly in a really efficient, fast, sort of low drag configuration. So it flies for 98% of the mission, just like a normal aircraft on wing-borne flight. So think faster, cheaper, further than most of the competition. So great for, you see the missions there. So medical evacuation, you imagine getting folks to the hospital in half the time, or from twice the distance in that golden hour. Responding to disasters. It's hybrid electric, so it's capable of operating off the grid. So when you land at some off-site location, you don't have to find the world's longest extension cord.
Right.
You can just recharge itself, and same thing en route. It recharges its small battery array for approaching the landing phase. So just a tougher, faster, more practical machine than some of the competition was putting together.
Brandon Robinson, the founder and CEO, parentheses, badass of Horizon Aircraft. Their NASDAQ symbol is HOVR. Brandon, will this eventually have somewhat, maybe a private application?
Yeah, does this feel like the beginning of the George Jetson? Like when people go,
totally.
I was just thinking that.
Yep.
Well, yeah, and the great thing is the technology works. I mean, we're flying a large-scale demonstrator right now, and we're building a full-scale aircraft currently. The U.S. Air Force has been quite interested. We have some defense prime contractors that are interested. But yeah, I mean, to answer your question on the private side, absolutely. I mean, if you want to fly around and again, a cheaper, faster helicopter that looks kind of like the Batwing. Batman called and he wanted one as well. He has to get in line like everyone else. But yeah, honestly, we've had a huge amount of interest, and it's tough keeping track of it all. But the cool thing is it looks great, but it actually works even better than it looks.
Amazing.
Yeah, the interesting part is you entered into a space. I always think, like, who enters into like the tennis shoe space? Or I'm going to make sunglasses. You entered into the aircraft space. That was a daunting decision when you walked in there. And I'm assuming when you walked into the aircraft space, it's because it was such a huge differentiator. I mean, you found a need and you filled it, right? I mean, because at the end of the day, it's very competitive, but you guys really have a slot here, don't you?
Yeah, so that's a great observation. And we identified that growing market gap. So again, everyone was going all electric when we did the math. Their ranges would be limited to 50 to 100 miles max, and they would be going very slow. They'd be carrying a lot of batteries, so not as much useful stuff. And there was this giant gap that was quite apparent to us. I think we come from a more operational space. It's a bunch of pilots and operators first, and also a bunch of really talented aerospace engineers. But there's a real sort of operational thread through the company. So we want to create a practical machine, and we saw a lot of the other companies were coming up with machines that would have limitations in the real world.
Hey, Mary, you hear about all those fighter pilots? They got those white V-neck T-shirts. That are, you need to go to their board meeting. I think you should go to show them.
I'll be there.
I think it would benefit. Hey, I got to ask about the fact that there's a disconnect between the real value of your company and what's happening with what's going on in the market. Now, we rarely talk about share price and numbers, but this is really an interesting case of maybe just putting eyeballs on this thing, because your valuation, your real valuation, is much higher than your market cap at this point. You have any comments on that?
Yeah, I mean, so we were a de-SPAC. We did it in the light of day, if that makes sense, when we knew it was going to happen. But yeah, once I think we're clear of sort of all the institutional shenanigans that go on, and we're starting to rebuild retail following, and people are seeing that there's a huge potential. I mean, we're 1/500th of the market cap of some of the competitors, so tons of upside. Again, we're not really focused on that. We're focused on delivering value for the shareholders, respecting them, not doing the deals that would dilute them overly as much as some other companies would. High quality strategic backers and just laser focused on a product that is going to just kick some butt in the.
It's the coolest tool on the planet. Well, I'm going to follow this thing. You're coming back on the air.
Oh my gosh! Yep.
By the way, from now on, you guys are calling me Mav, okay? Not Goose. Brandon, thanks, buddy. Brandon Robinson, founder and CEO of Horizon Aircraft. HOVR, HorizonAircraft.com. Yeah,
Look at that thing.
I got swept right into the fighter pilot program.
Good God.
This thing is.
Honey, I'm going to work. See you a little bit.
Gary, is there an attraction if I've got a jet in my driveway?
That's pretty hot.
Okay, Trampy Tramperton. Great to see you. Big Biz Show. BigBizShow.com. Coming up, the story of entrepreneurship and my very organic diet, my compliance to a healthy lifestyle. Stand by. Hey, pass the fun with me.